Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review. I'm here today to talk to you about the Orville Season 3 episode Twice in a Lifetime. At least I think that's what it's called. I forget the number episode. It's either 5 or 6. I particularly don't like this episode. And it really pains me to say that because I love the Orville. But this episode just didn't do it for me on a scientific level, on a time travel level, and on a moral level. And I don't understand where they was going with this episode. Because one thing about this show is just like Star Trek. It's episodic. Okay, fine. However, in season 3, they are going for something much bigger, a overarching story arc and everything, with the Kalon, now the Krill, and stuff like that. And this episode really doesn't fall within the rest of the episodes. Now, each episode this season has been episodic, have been character driven and scientifically driven, which was a problem they had in season 2 and a little bit in season 1. But overall, it does relate to something that is going on with the overall story arc, except for this episode. Once again, the Kalon are just like thrown in here randomly, and it doesn't make a difference. So it's like, why do they keep teasing us with them? Now, maybe the element of time travel will play a factor much later in this season. However, they did that last season, so why duplicate that? Now, one good thing about this episode, it was a Gordon-driven episode. I don't think we ever gotten a Gordon-centric episode and one where he's actually emotional. I don't recall that at all. Normally, he's just the comedic relief and stuff. And so, with this episode, it reminds me a lot of an episode in Sliders Season 2. And every time I kept watching this episode and certain things will happen, I'm just like, this reminds me of Sliders, and that's why I know it's morally wrong and everything. And, I just don't know where the writers were going with this. I felt like the ending should have been much different. Then I probably would have liked it a whole lot more. But I just can't grasp around what was written. Now, a lot of people online, because I was curious to see what people were saying about this. I went to Twitter last night. And people seem to really love this episode, talking about it's the best episode, and someone talking about how it made them teary-eyed. Now, here's the problem. Every freaking episode that drops in season 3, you always see the same crap on Twitter. Everybody talking about how amazing and how great it is and this and that. They do the same thing with Miss Marvel, I've noticed. And I'm just wondering, do people actually like it, or are they just saying that so it can get good reviews and hopefully get a 4th season? I'm thinking both, actually. Because from what we know, this is supposed to be the last season. It's on Hulu and they have a bigger budget. Everything looks amazing in this season. And it's kind of like, why would Hulu just do that for 1 season and 1 season only? I'm hoping they can get a 4th. But if they keep doing random filler episodes like this, then I don't see why they will even give them a 4th. So this is what happens in this episode. It starts off, and Lamar's in engineering with the some of the bridge officers, and they're talking about this thing that him and this other scientist created. Apparently, Lamar is so smart, he created time travel. Him and another scientist and stuff. It's something that the Union been working on, is this and that. Now, I don't know if the Union scientists did this all on their own, but I'm pretty sure Lamar had a helping hand in it, or at least he understands how to work it and stuff. And so Gordon comes in, he's tired, and he's all like, we can send things back in time or in the future and blah, 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 certain amount of time. So he wants to send a sandwich in time, like 10 minutes or something like that, or 30 minutes. And so before they even send it through time, another sandwich appears, letting you know that there is that temporal loop of things that are happening before they're supposed to happen. And so then they send like the sandwich like through time and stuff. Then all of a sudden they are attacked by the Krill. And so, and when they're attacked by like the Kalon, they're attacked by like a fleet of Kalon ships. as they were talking to like the admiral and stuff. So reinforcements are sent in, and it's a huge, small little battle. The battle doesn't happen that fast, or it happened that long, I should say. It happens very, very quickly. And so they're getting their butts kicked, and they realize they're not strong enough to take on the Kalon, so they have to flee. And they go into a nebula. It's a beautiful nebula. That's some nice CGI. And the Kalon told them that they want the time travel device because they could scan it on their ship and everything. So Ed tells, like, Tala to destroy it, but she's injured, and so Gordon goes down there. And well, I should tell you the truth. No, wait, did they? I think it was before they went into the nebula. I think. I think this happened before. Anyway, it happened at some point in time. Either this happened before or after they went to nebula. He goes down there. He grabs a phaser. He's getting ready to shoot it. And so they are stuck on a tractor beam. Oh, okay, this is what happened. Now I remember. This happened before the nebula. So they are unable to go to nebula because they are in like a tractor beam, right? And so they're gonna use the quantum drive to send out a polarity burst to disrupt the tractor beam. So as Gordon is about to fire, Lamar sends out the burst, and it hits the temporal time machine thing, and it sends him somewhere in time. After scanning and everything, they realize that they received like a message from Gordon, and he is sent to the year 2015. And so they have to figure out a way to like save him, right? And so one problem I'm having with this is, okay, Gordon sent a message. He sent it the moment he landed like on Earth and everything. He only thing he had was his phaser and his communicator. So he used some old tech like Earth tech from the 21st century and like, jerry-rigged it to his communicator and sent the message out that will broadcast the moment a couple of minutes after he left in the Pacific area of space, the nebula. My problem with this is, one, how did he know they were going to be in the nebula? And two, that's right. Now I remember, because the admiral said go there. But how did he know that they actually went there? You know what I'm saying? Now here's the main problem I have with this. He is not an engineer. He is not a temporal mechanic. How in the world was he able to like pinpoint the exact time and date that they was going to be in this specific spot and send them a message? Not only that, but how was he able to jerry-rig his communicator to send out a message throughout space? Because it's pretty far, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's only a pilot. Like, how does he even know how to do that? So that's my first main problem, is how he was able to create such a device to send out a pulse. Yeah, they all had training, but he's not an engineer. And then so they are going to duplicate what happened and go back in time. So they do that, but they end up in 10 years later. And so they go looking for him, but there's a problem. They're running out of the fuel they need to jump through time. So Isaac is going to go with Charlie and go get some more of the fuel. They have to dig into the Earth's core. And so they disguised Isaac with one of those like holographic like body imager type things. So of course Charlie doesn't want to go with him because she's still being a butthead. And so let me get through the whole Charlie and Isaac thing first. They need wheels to get to where they need to get. And so they go to a bar. It's a pretty cool scene, and they arm wrestle for some motorcycle bikes, and then they head off. One, how do they even know how to ride motorcycle bikes? They're from the 24th century, and there aren't motorcycle bikes anymore. Two, I'm leaving out one part. How and why exactly Gordon got to 2015. So when he was at a party, because they was toasting the invention and stuff like that, and Charlie was in his room and with everybody else, and she saw a cell phone, wanted to know what that was, and he told her, oh, he replicated it because he fell in love with this person who's been dead for like 400 years from season 2. So Lamar figured out that the reason why he got sent to 2015 is because when the whole temporal burst thing happened, he was thinking of that specific time and moment, so it sent him there. Okay, fine, whatever. I can buy that. That's happened in so many sci-fi and fantasy stuff. So let's get back to the drilling thing. So they have to go to an abandoned house that's for sale, and they have to like drill through a hole and like get whatever like chemical or whatever they need. And so Isaac is still upset that Charlie doesn't like him, and he's been trying ways to like talk to her and stuff. Well, she's irritated by him because she says that, remember her friend that died, it was more than just a friend. She was in love with her friend. Now I kind of figured that because of the way she kept talking about her and how upset she was when the woman died. And so that's why she'll never forgive like Isaac and stuff like that. And that was nice and sentimental. Like, at least we have like a real concrete reason as to why she hates Isaac and his people and stuff, other than just, oh, you killed my friend and stuff like that. And so like they drill, get the stuff, and then we really don't see them on screen no more. So now it's back to Ed and them. They find Gordon. How? Because they looked through the historical databases and found out he's made quite a name for himself. He died at the age of 96 or something like that, and he became like a pilot and stuff. And they're upset because they're all like, he was supposed to avoid, interaction with people to, so they won't contaminate the timeline and stuff. And so when they find Gordon and everything, he tells them, what's been happening, and they're sorry they're 10 years late and everything. And so Kelly's a little upset, like, why'd you contaminate the timeline by, stuff like that. Well, I like what he has to say after this. He said, he did what he was supposed to do, but 3 years, he just couldn't take it no more. And this was really fascinating, because when it comes to Star Trek and their time travel and First Contact, I was always like, when Picard told his crew to find like a small corner of the continent and just hide out and stay out of history's way, I always wonder, how are they going to do that without like replicators and like all this and that? Because they would have to like eat food and buy clothes and contaminate the timeline, And so Gordon said he did that, but he lived in like a wooden cabin, and he had to survive by killing animals and eating them. And in their century, he said that is criminal. That's basically committing manslaughter, and you can get like up to 20 years and stuff just by killing an animal. So that was really fascinating to hear, because I always assumed that would be the same thing in Star Trek, but that's never really been explained. And then when you get to Star Trek Picard season 1, we see Riker hunting food and stuff like that. Or at least his daughter did, or something like that. And so this was kind of like a nice thing to know that, hey, murder is illegal, of like slaughtering an animal and eating it. So they eat replicated food in like the future and stuff. And so he said after a while, he just couldn't take it no more. And then he takes them to his home and said why he can't return back with them. He's made a family. He's married, has about like a 10-year-old son and a baby on the way. But it's just not no random woman. It's the woman he fell in love with in the holodeck program, when they found the old cell phone in that time capsule and stuff. So he went searching for her, found her, fell in love with her, and started a family. This, of course, pisses off Kelly and Ed. And it pisses me off too. And I'll tell you why in a couple of minutes. And so basically what happens after that is that they tell him, you have to come back. And he's like, no, I'm not coming. And then he pulls a phaser. Oh, no, then they go get Tala and everything, so she can basically manhandle him and arrest him and stuff. But he pulls a phaser on them, and he's getting ready to shoot. But he has it on a high stun. And I'm just thinking, holy crap, he is literally disobeying his commanding officers and everything. Because Kelly literally told him, you have broke like 15 rules and stuff like that. And he tells them basically, you can't tell me what to do because I'm not like a union officer no more. So I'm like, this is really heating up and everything. Like, my God, he's really going to shoot them. So then they said, it doesn't matter because we're going to save you. We're going to go back 10 years and bring you back. So this will never happen. And then I'm thinking, holy crap, it will erase that entire timeline, and it will erase his kids, supposedly. And I'll tell you why in a couple of minutes. I have a problem with their rules of time travel. So then He's upset, and as they're walking away, he's literally about to shoot them in the back, but he doesn't. He resists. Something in him just couldn't do it. So they do exactly what they said they were going to do. They went back in time and they got him. Only problem is, something happened. I think the device broke or something like that. And so they're all like, crap, now we're stuck in the year 2015. How are we supposed to get back home? Then the most random thing comes up just out of coincidence and stuff. Lamar told them they always had the ability to time travel, just not going backwards, but going forward. Apparently, when they engage their quantum drive and they go past the sound of light, like light speed, that's basically going into the future. Now, what happens is the quantum drive creates a bubble around the ship that keeps them synchronous within space and time, so it doesn't cause them to jump forward 100 years and in the future and stuff. So they're just gonna do that. So basically, they're gonna engage their maximum speed, but turn off their quantum drive. Isaac tells them, by doing this, even like a tiny particle of dust can like destroy the ship and everything. That whole what is it? That Einstein thing, E equals MC squared, something like that, but they're gonna do it anyway. And so they do it, and they travel 400 years into the future. And I'm just kind of like, hold up. So y'all had time travel ability this whole freaking time, and no Union scientist has ever decided just to leap forward 100 years into the future and see what humanity is like, and has possibly, and then they could have created in the future, a way to time travel back. Because see, the reason why they couldn't fix the machine is because Lamar said it would take 6 months. I'm thinking 6 months ain't nothing, but he also needs that scientist to help him speed up the process and stuff. So basically, when they're in the future, they tell Gordon what happened, and he's just kind of like, man, I can't believe it, blah, 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 blah. Now, here are the problems I'm having with this episode. One, the time travel element. In the beginning, Lamar states that time travel, when you go messing with time and you alter it, it creates like a parallel universe and everything, an alternate universe. And I'm thinking to myself, that doesn't make no sense to what happened last season when young Kelly came into the future and then they sent her back and then they had to time travel back and stuff. They even mentioned that episode and stuff. See, this is all starting because of the whole 2009 Star Trek movie and, of course, Avengers Endgame, where instead of time travel and sci-fi being you alter the past, it alters the future. Now is you alter the past, your future is exactly the same, and your present is absolutely the same, but you create a parallel universe and stuff. And that doesn't make sense to what happened in that season 2 episode, with the two Kellys and stuff. Because when she went back, she had knowledge of the future. They didn't properly erase her mind, and she altered it to where the Kalon took over and stuff. So therefore, that doesn't make no sense right then and there. And so I also don't understand how I know Lamar is smart, but is that man really that smart to know all about temporal time mechanics and building the machine and being able to jump 400 years into the future just by engaging warp and everything? That right there doesn't make no sense. Then I already told you I don't understand how Gordon was able to make that communication device in the exact spot that the ship would be in when he didn't really know where they would be at, because anything could have happened, you know what I'm saying? But here's the moral problem I'm having with this. See, he knew everything about this woman, so he was able to smooth her into falling in love with him. And she knew something was up with him when she first met him because everything was just too perfect. And after finding this all out, she was totally okay. Now, the problem I'm having with this is that he basically online stalked her. This is something a lot of people online do. It's like they'll meet a complete stranger online, like an online friend. They will go through their profile, finding everything out about them before they become friends with them. And then when they hit that friend request and talk to them, they know everything about them and able to smooth them into making them like them and stuff. That's basically online stalking. And then that reminds me of an episode of Sliders in season 2 with Wade. See, Wade started sliding the parallel universes for about a couple of months into a year in her 20s, right? Along with a group of people. When that started happening, On a one parallel world, there's a bunch of psychics, and this one psychic somehow became bonded to her mind. So he's every time they go to sleep, he's able to see into her dream, and he's able to read her mind and know all her history, right? So he's been learning stuff about her for about a couple of months to a year, and he was hoping that one day that she will find her way to his earth, and that one day happened. And so what happened? He was already in love with her for a whole year after getting to know her and reading her mind. So he smoozes her and everything, trying to woo her and everything. And it works at first until she finds out when she goes to his place why he has a room that looks exactly like her bedroom when she was a little girl, like down to the very last T. And he tells her, and she's all like, crap, you've been reading my mind like for all this time. And that's like a violation and everything. Like she literally thought of it as like an assault and everything, you know, because for a whole year he has literally been like combing through her brain and everything, learning everything he can find out about her so that she can fall in love with him. And that is basically the same thing Gordon did to this woman, and Gordon, and I know Gordon thinks it's okay, but the woman thinks it's okay too, and that doesn't make no sense. Because, you know, what if she didn't like want to fall in love with him? Because she even said he was not her type. And everybody's like, oh my God, this is so emotional. He didn't want to give up his family and give up his wife and blah, blah, blah. But he online stalked her. You know what I'm saying? And he's basically a stalker who manipulated this woman into falling in love with him. That's nothing to cheer on. That's nothing to cry about. I was so glad when he got ripped away from that family and everything, because he didn't deserve them and everything. It didn't happen naturally. It happened through manipulation and everything. And so that's why I don't understand the core value moral center of this episode. It's wrong on every level and stuff. Oh, and Lamar and Talia are like hooked up and everything. And that was the most random thing ever, because in the last episode, they just flirted for a couple of seconds. And I'm like, where was the build up? Because in the first episode of this season, he hooked up with an alien. And all they did was talk and flirt a little bit in the last episode, and now they're hooking up. And I'm all like, Balana and Tom had, you know, it took them a good while to build that up. Jadzia and Worf, it took them a while to build that up. Even Worf and Diana, it's just like this happened at like random. This is kind of like the whole Chakotay and 7 to 9 thing. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.